still going on, so this is going to be a short one. Happy Easter Sunday. If you're a Republican, Jesus hates you, and I mean that. If you're a Republican, there's nothing Christian about you, but somehow the Republican Party convinced their voters that they're the party of Christ, especially MAGA Republicans, because, well, MAGA Republicans don't read, especially the New Testament. And now Donald Trump, as you all know, is selling Bibles with his name on them. Trump is a Christian the same way he's a billionaire. He's not. He's so removed from the core teachings of Christ, Trump might as well be selling Korans with his name on them. There is nothing Christian about Trump. There's nothing Christian about Republicans. They are the party of hatred, hatred for migrants, hatred for the meekest of the meek. They mock the vulnerable, cutting food stamps, making people work for Medicaid, making people work for food stamps, and torturing the LGBTQ community, all the people Jesus taught us to protect. I don't know much, but I do know that anyone who cloaks themselves in a counterfeit iteration of the New Testament, a version of the New Testament that preaches hate and greed, tax cuts for the wealthy on the backs of the poor, I know that's the complete opposite of a Christian. And Mike Johnson, our speaker, better hope our Lord and Savior never returns, because if he does, the first thing he's going to do, Mike Johnson, is stick his tongue halfway down your throat while massaging your testicles, because Jesus answers all our prayers, even Mike Johnson's. And you know that's what he's praying for. Happy Easter. If you're a Republican, Jesus hates you, and this is the mop-up for March 31st, 2024. I'm David Feldman in New York City. Thank you for finding me. If you want to make sure I remain in your feed, please like this episode and, of course, subscribe to this channel. Thank you for your kind words regarding this nasty head cold. If you watch me struggle through our last episode, you know I've got something going on with my sinuses. I'm feeling a little better, but we're going to keep this short tonight. 73 million AT&T customers were told yesterday that personal information, including their social security numbers, well, it's all been hacked, with some of it leaked on Thor, which is part of the dark web, where illicit transactions involving drugs, stolen firearms, and sex trafficking all take place. I think Mike Johnson is on it right now. If you were once with AT&T and you switched, you're still screwed. 7.6 million current AT&T customers had their data leaked, but nearly 65 million former customers of AT&T also had their data leaked, which means AT&T holds on to your personal information even when you switch carriers. Now, AT&T is recommending customers change their passwords. I recommend they change their providers. Don't use AT&T. These were the same pinheads who purchased CNN, HBO, and TBS, turned it all to crap, fired everybody, and then within 2 years, they realized they knew nothing about show business and sold it all to the Discovery Channel, which also knows nothing about show business. The World Health Organization said on Friday that as many as 10,000 Palestinians in desperate need of medical attention must be removed from Gaza immediately and sent somewhere where there are hospitals and medical facilities that haven't been destroyed. Reuters is reporting this morning that America's State Department is now openly admitting parts of northern Gaza are probably experiencing famine. The United Nations warned on Friday that half of all the 2.3 million Palestinians in Gaza could face famine by July. President Biden was heckled during a speech on health care in North Carolina on Tuesday, heckled by pro-Palestinians who screamed, "What about health care in Gaza?" Instead of ignoring them, President Biden said, they have a point. We need to get a lot more care into Gaza. Former President Barack Obama was heckled by pro-Palestinian protesters at that big Joe Biden Radio City Music Hall fundraiser in New York. It raked in $26 million on Thursday. Obama was heckled by pro-Palestinians, and he shot back saying, quote, "You can't just talk and not listen. That's what the other side does." But Obama failed to specify who the other side is. Fighting between Hamas and Israel started last October 7th after a surprise attack against Israelis killed nearly 1,200, with more than 200 taken hostage, while other Israelis were raped and tortured. The Gaza Health Ministry, as of this morning, puts the number of Palestinians killed since fighting broke out at more than 30,000. After Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu promised to wipe out Hamas and launch a ground invasion, Israel took the extraordinary step of drafting ultra-Orthodox Jews into their military, even though since the nation's founding, ultra-Orthodox Jews, many of whom initially opposed the founding of Israel, they were exempt from military service for decades, and instead of fighting for Israel, they received stipends to study the Torah and the Talmud. This has now changed. Everyone is expected to serve, and the ultra-Orthodox Jews are fighting back. Not at Hamas. They're fighting the idea of having to fight. Israel's Supreme Court on Friday ordered the Israeli government to stop funding ultra-Orthodox educational institutions until their students obey the law and register for military service. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's coalition government is made up of some ultra-Orthodox Jews as well as ethno-nationalists, many of whom believe Gaza and the West Bank should be completely settled by Israel. And Netanyahu has finally admitted what some of us knew for decades. He opposes not just a two-state solution, but any sovereign nation for the Palestinians. He is now saying that openly. Netanyahu said as long as he is prime minister, the Palestinians will have nothing resembling a homeland. This goes against official United States foreign policy dating back to the first Bush president, George Herbert Walker Bush, who at one time during his presidency considered cutting off aid to Israel until they agreed to negotiate a nation for the Palestinians. The Supreme Court ruling that threatens the funding of ultra-Orthodox institutions until their draft-age students agree to serve in the military, this is going to create even more strife between Benjamin Netanyahu and the judiciary branch of the Israeli government. Before the October 7th attack, Netanyahu faced massive protests after he threatened and then passed legislation severely limiting the authority of Israel's Supreme Court and giving more power to the prime minister, who Benjamin Netanyahu happens to be. This is a big authoritarian power grab. Israel has suspended its 17-year naval blockade imposed on Gaza to allow shipments of food to arrive. Reuters reports that ships containing 332 tons of provisions have left the port of Cyprus and are now heading to the shores of Gaza. The food is expected to take 60 hours to arrive. President Biden ordered our U.S. military to build a floating pier for Gaza. It's scheduled to be completed by May 1st, although President Biden now says he's hoping for completion in 2 weeks. Meet Republican Congressman Tim Walberg of Michigan. He's been serving in Congress since 2003, but he's not just a member of Congress. He's also an ordained Baptist minister, and he checks all the boxes. He opposes Obamacare, as any good Christian would. He also wants a constitutional amendment to ban same-sex marriage, and then some. In fact, the day after the October 7th attack on Israel, Congressman Wahlberg was in Uganda speaking at a prayer breakfast where he urged the Ugandan president, who was in attendance, to, quote, stand firm. Do not allow the left to force you to overturn your new draconian Anti-Homosexuality Act of 2023. Are you familiar with Uganda's new Anti-Homosexuality Act of 2023? It was written by some Christians here in America. It mandates the death penalty for certain instances of same-sex behavior. And Tim Walberg, Congressman Tim Walberg, such a great Christian, was in Uganda on October 8th, 2023, urging the president, the homophobic president of Uganda who wants to kill homosexuals. This Baptist minister turned congressman, Republican, was urging the president of Uganda to stay firm. Don't cave. Headline from yesterday's The Detroit News. Michigan Republican congressman suggests nuking Gaza, ending humanitarian aid. Well, that couldn't be Congressman Wahlberg. He's a Baptist minister. Speaking at a town hall on March 25th in Dundee, Michigan, Congressman Wahlberg, did I mention he's a Baptist minister and a Republican? Did I mention that it's Easter and Jesus hates Republicans? Did I mention that? Anyway, Congressman Wahlberg, during his town hall in Dundee, Michigan, was asked if Joe Biden should be building a floating port off the shore of Gaza to allow humanitarian aid to reach the 2.5 million Palestinians facing famine. Wahlberg, who is also a Baptist minister, said no. He said that America should not be providing humanitarian aid. He said America should go ahead and nuke Gaza and get it over with already, which I believe answers the question this Easter Sunday, what would Jesus do? I guess the pastor is such a great believer in Christ, he wants to blanket the birthplace of Jesus in radioactive dust for the next millennium. Congressman Wahlberg, who is also a Baptist minister, said, and I quote, "It should be like Nagasaki and Hiroshima. Get it over, quick. We shouldn't be spending a dime on humanitarian aid." I believe that's an actual quote from Jesus' Sermon on the Mount, page 96 in the Trump Bible. Just in case some of you are wondering why Donald Trump, despite being the antithesis of a Christian, why he gets the evangelical vote, well, this is how perverted religion has become. You've got the ultra-Orthodox in Israel who, during the founding of Israel, didn't believe it should happen, but now they believe Gaza belongs to them because they say it says so in their Bible, yet they don't want to fight for Israel. And you have evangelicals, Baptist ministers like Congressman Tim Walberg, who considers himself a holy man by calling for the nuking of Gaza, cutting off humanitarian aid, and leaving the Palestinians to starve, and of course, killing homosexuals. Wait, just when you think it couldn't get any worse. Headline, The Michigan Independent, February 9th. This is written by Josh Israel. Headline, Michigan Congressman Tim Walberg wants to pay home caregivers less than minimum wage. Did I mention he's a Baptist minister? Tim Walberg wants to pay home caregivers less than minimum wage. The Republican lawmaker is sponsoring a bill to exempt companion workers from the $7.25 per hour federal minimum wage. So obviously he's against the minimum wage, but he also thinks $7.25 is too generous to pay the angels who take care of our parents and grandparents and our disabled family members. That would be a Michigan Republican Baptist minister, Tim Walberg, who wants the people of Gaza to starve, and the caregivers keeping grandma alive. He wants them to starve as well. Hey, why don't you just nuke the caregivers? As long as you're nuking the Palestinians, why don't you just nuke and nuke grandma? Get it over with, Congressman Tim Walberg. Happy Easter, Baptist minister and Congressman, Republican Tim Walberg. I don't know much, Congressman, but I can assure you, Jesus hates you. Jesus Christ hates you, Congressman Tim Walberg. But happy Easter. If Jesus has risen, he's coming to Michigan to kick your ass because you're not a Christian. You can't call for the killing of homosexuals, the nuking of Palestinians, cutting off humanitarian aid to Gaza, and forcing angels to work for even less than $7.25 an hour, feeding, bathing, indeed washing the feet, and wiping our most vulnerable people in our community. They should be the highest paid people in America. There is no way, I don't care what it says in the Trump Bible, Congressman Tim Walberg. You are not a Christian. You're not. You're a bad guy. Jesus hates you. This is Josh Blevins. He's a Republican, and he serves on the city council of Enid, Oklahoma. Excuse me. He was elected a year ago, but now he's facing a recall election next week after a photograph of him holding a tiki torch marching in Charlottesville's Unite the Right back in 2017, shouting, "Jews will not replace us." Did I mention he's a Republican? Not a Baptist minister, though. He sits on the city council of Enid, Oklahoma. Now, back in 1980, Enid used to be all white. It's now nearly 75% of the town's population is now people of color. All Jews. They replaced all the white people in Enid. Oh, I'm kidding. I don't think there are probably some Jews in Enid, Oklahoma. But somehow he's worried about Jews replacing him. Nobody could replace you. You're irreplaceable, you. He's trying to hold on to his seat. Blevins insists he was never a white nationalist or a white supremacist. Yeah, just a member of Identity Europa, one of the largest white nationalist organizations in America, which he says no longer exists. Blevin now says he's fighting for his seat. He says his activism was just standing up for the very same values that got Donald Trump elected. He said that yesterday. He said, when I was marching in Charlottesville, I was merely fighting for the same values that got Donald Trump elected. Well, you got that right. Blevins said he carried the tiki torch and marched in Charlottesville to protest all the hatred for white people in America. Nobody hates white people. They just hate you. Blevins said he carried the tiki torch for one reason, to preserve the statues of American soldiers. Well, they weren't American soldiers, they were Confederate soldiers. They were fighting against American soldiers. I believe you would call them January 6ers. I'm sorry, traitors. Same thing. I'm going to have to cut this one short tonight. I am still a little sick. So he said he marched in Charlottesville because they were tearing down statues of Confederate soldiers. And he said, you can't do that. Quote, it's our heritage. It's who we are. No, it's who you are. Our heritage. So is waiting too long to fund AIDS research. That's who we are, too. That's also part of our heritage. Why don't we build some statues to honor the men who crucified Matthew Shepard? That's who we are, too. It's part of our heritage. Today is Easter Sunday, and if you're a Republican, Jesus is coming for you. Today is Easter Sunday. King Charles, who was recently diagnosed with cancer, will not be attending his traditional Easter Sunday meal. Not having to hang out with immediate members of the royal family happens to be one of the only side benefits to coming down with cancer. I do wish him and Catherine well. I really do. I like them. I know I shouldn't. I like them. Everybody who complained about the Queen was weeping after she died. I know. The king is also expected to attend the Easter service this morning, but will not be seated next to any members of his family. I'm going to assume for fear of catching something, like being photographed next to his brother Andrew. I like him, and I wish him well. I do. And Catherine. Here in America, the Biden White House will host its annual Easter egg hunt on Monday. 40,000 people are expected to attend. The first White House Easter egg roll was held in 1878 when President Rutherford B. Hayes opened up the White House lawn after the groundskeeper for the U.S. Capitol put an end to the White House Easter egg roll. That's true. The Capitol groundskeeper told the kids to get off my lawn. And so President Rutherford B. Hayes kept the Easter egg roll alive, and he put an end to Reconstruction and pretty much reversed everything we sacrificed during the Civil War. So I believe today's Republicans would consider Rutherford B. Hayes America's greatest president. The Biden White House is reportedly asking the Easter egg hunt to be non-denominational, and attendees are advised to stay away from religious themes in their Easter egg art contest. This prompted Alabama Senator Republican Tommy Tuberville to take to Twitter and call the entire Democratic Party, quote, a satanic cult. Unfortunately, Senator Tuberville, not the entire Democratic Party. God knows I'm trying. I just don't have enough time yet. Well, it's hard for Republicans to find things to attack Joe Biden on. The stock market just hit record highs. Inflation is getting under control. We're seeing the longest and deepest economic expansion since the 60s. Bloomberg reported yesterday that they expect the new job numbers for March to hit at the very least 200,000. That's 200,000 new jobs at the very least in March. Anything below 4% unemployment is considered full employment by the Federal Reserve. That is the official policy. When you get to full employment when unemployment is below 4%. Biden's been hitting in the upper 3% unemployment for more than 2 years. It's record job growth. No president has ever created so many jobs. So it's hard to find things to attack Biden on, which is why you have to lie. Republicans have no choice but to lie. Congresswoman Nancy Mace took to Twitter and lied on Saturday. She said, since Joe Biden took office, crime has skyrocketed across our country. That's just a lie. I went over this during the last show. The FBI says violent crime, murder, rape, and aggravated assault have all dropped precipitously since Biden took office, after spiking to a 2-decade high during the final year of Donald Trump's presidency. I don't care that your brother got mugged. That's what everybody said. Crime is horrible under Biden. My brother got mugged. Good. I'm glad your brother got mugged. Deal with statistics, not anecdotal evidence. NBC News has looked at data from police departments from American cities with populations of more than 1 million, and across the board, all types of crime have plummeted. And as I keep reminding you, in all the blue cities where Texas Governor Greg Abbott shipped migrants, there is now less crime after the migrants arrived than before. I know there are pictures of migrants giving the finger to police. I know. That we should just make policy based on a picture of a migrant giving a police officer the finger. Nancy Mace is a liar. This is her wearing a scarlet A emblazoned with a T-shirt with an A on her chest. She wore that after she came under attack back in October when she voted for Kevin McCarthy to vacate the speakership. And I think the A is supposed to be adultery. Wasn't that Hester Prynne A for adultery? But I think in Nancy Mace's case, it stands for a-hole. Bereft of anything to criticize Biden with, Republicans decided to make up crap this week by spreading the lie that President Biden declared Easter Sunday to be Transgender Day of Visibility. This is the new attack on Joe Biden. First of all, it's a lie. But how dare Joe Biden turn Easter into a celebration of men wearing gaudy jewelry and long flowing lace-trimmed robes? I mean, where would Joe Biden get an idea like that? Oh, yeah, every Sunday when he went to Mass. But Biden didn't declare Easter to be Transgender Celebration Day. I mean, it should be. I think it's a great idea, but this is the official statement. I, Joseph R. Biden, President of the United States of America, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the Constitution and the laws of the United States, do hereby proclaim March 31st, 2024, as Transgender Day of Visibility. There's no mention of Easter, okay? That's the official announcement. It says March 31st. It says March 31st, 2024, because Transgender Day has been March 31st since it first began. I don't know. They've been doing it for, 5-10 years? Easter, they never settled on a date for Easter. But here is Mike Johnson, the speaker. Here he is. The Biden White House has betrayed the central tenet of Easter. What would the central tenet of Easter be, Mike Johnson? Would it be lowering taxes for the wealthiest 1% on the backs of the poor? Is that the central tenet of Easter? Is it, cutting food stamps, work requirements for Medicaid? Is that the core tenet of Easter? Oh, it's the resurrection of Christ. Okay. Johnson's upset that Transgender Day falls on Easter. Well, like I said at the top of the show, I got news for you, Mike Johnson. You better hope Jesus doesn't return. He's going to come looking for you in particular. He is. After he does something nasty to you, he's going to say, are you the D-bag persecuting the LGBTQ community? And then when you nod your head, Jesus is going to turn to Peter or Paul and say, hold my mojito. And then he's going to kick your ass until kingdom come. Well, actually, that would be kingdom come. You're not a Christian, Mike Johnson. You don't care about the poor. You're a vicious, sadistic little prick who lies, and because you support Donald Trump and are a world-class election denier, you're a cheater. Mike Johnson, I'm a better Christian than you are, and I'm a Jew. But then again, so was Jesus. I'm David Feldman, reminding you to stay strong and protect the weak. If you enjoyed any part of this show, I ask you to please like this episode so I stay in your feed, and of course subscribe to this channel. I read all your comments. The MAGA trolls, we're doing really good hygiene, keeping the MAGA. I'm not interested in anything Republicans have to say. Nothing. Zero. I'm not interested in arguing. Nothing. So don't leave. If you're a MAGA Republican or a Republican, just don't leave comments here. You're not welcome. We don't serve your kind. But if you're literate and you have something to say, and by that I mean if you're not a Republican, feel free to comment. I read all your comments. Thank you to Bob in the chat room for keeping the conversation civil. Please subscribe to my newsletter. And thank you for putting up with my nonsense. It's a privilege to be able to talk to all of you. Happy Easter. If you're a Republican, Jesus hates you. I may see you tomorrow. I did a short show today. I may do a short show tomorrow. Thank you so much.